Our next speaker, Colin Biggin. Colin Biggin is a longtime Mac and iOS developer who inadvertently got into the video streaming industry. And for the last 7 years, he's been working for Stage 10 and writing iOS client software that uses WebRTC and its underlying technology. So, Colin, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And just an FYI, we actually do use GStreamer at Stage 10 for part of the pipeline that we have. We also heavily use FFmpeg directly as well. Yeah, we use every knife in our Swiss Army knife of video technologies that there is to get our streams out there. Okay, let me just present here. Okay, so actually, when he asked me to, can you guys see that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So when Chris asked me to give a write-up, I didn't know it was going to be the title of everything, but that's fine, that's fine. Here's actually what I was going to do. It's kind of 3 broad topics. It's going to be a very brief introduction to WebRTC, although it sounds like you guys are pretty familiar with a lot of video technology. Then specifically WebRTC on iOS, and this will be very quick. And then we'll just have some fun with live streaming, specifically as it pertains to iOS, because of course that's what I specialize in. So as Chris said, my name is Colin Biggin, and I have been an iOS programmer since 2008, the very, very beginning. And I've been a Mac programmer since 1991. Now, if many of you remember, it wasn't so cool to be a Mac developer for many, many, many years, pretty much up until the iPhone came out. So when the iPhone did come out, the only people who really knew how to program it were us old Mac developers, of which I was one of the only ones in Toronto who was still kind of doing it, I would say, half-time. But of course, since then, things have changed around a lot. I quickly wrote an app that was called Killer Sudoku, and it's a variation of Sudoku, and it was on the App Store on day 3. I'm still a little bitter about this because Apple told us if we had it submitted on a certain date, it would be there on the first day, and I had it there. It's one of the many lies that Apple has told to me over the years, but I'm still a little bitter about that one, but it was up on day 3. Here's actually my acceptance, and as you can see, it was July 13th, 2008. Over the years, I was a programmer for hire, basically. I did Chris Bosch's original app. I did Pocket Cocktails, which was licensed by vodka companies, and millions were downloaded. True North Records, I did a bunch of kids stuff for them. And at one point, I had over 70 apps on the App Store, of which only 2, I think, were my own. I had a bunch for other people. I was very, very busy for many, many years. I also had apps on private app stores. Genentech had their own app store, which not a lot of people knew about. So I wrote apps for the pharmaceutical industry. And so, just anything. Now, along the way, I was contacted by this guy, and I hope you guys don't mind if I kind of branch out a little bit. Okay, great, thank you. So one of the people who called me up was this guy by the name of Dave Lazar, and he was doing merchandising for this woman by the name of Gail Van Oxlade, and she had a TV show where she would mind your money. She would tell you how to manage your money, and if you were screwing up, she'd go through your finances and everything. She was on TV, and Dave was doing merchandising for her, like selling a bunch of different stuff. So he contacted me about writing an app for her. Anyway, nothing ever happened of it, but we became friends and we stayed in contact. And he, around 2013, started up a company to start doing this live video streaming, and it was called Stage 10. And I went to work for him, and I've been working there since 2014. I have 2 apps right now, the Stage 10 Connect app, which actually is live video streaming, and our Rosie app, which interfaces with Shopify stores and allows you to go live. We're basically a studio in the cloud, which means you can log into our system online using Chrome, and we put together scenes, like split screen. You can bring in movies, you can bring in assets. It's kind of cool. Some of our customers are YouTube, Google, TVO, Khan Academy. Right now, if you were watching Steve Paikin on TVO, they're using our system right now to bring people in and then put together their show. But when COVID happened, we started, of course, getting a lot of interest from other people. So since then, we've been doing a lot of specific productions for people like Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, Justin Bieber, Chrissy Teigen, and a bunch of others. And please check us out, https stage10.tv. So that's a shameless plug there. Okay, so let's get into the second part, introduction to WebRTC. That was me. Okay, who knows what a WebRTC is? Or who has a fair idea? Okay. So this is actually from webrtc.org. Actually, this is their old website. WebRTC is a free open project that provides browsers and mobile applications with real-time communications capabilities via simple APIs. WebRTC components have been optimized to best serve this purpose. Well, all that's kind of true, except maybe the simple API portion. But what it does is it does provide you basically with a way of creating real-time APIs for your video and audio. What it really is, though, it's low latency media, audio and video codecs that are standardized, a bunch of network negotiation. You kind of, we actually use SDP, session description protocol, to basically exchange how you're going to do stuff. And who uses WebRTC? Well, Google Meet, of course, uses WebRTC. This is kind of a Google project. A lot of it is driven by Google. Microsoft Teams uses it. Facebook Messenger, TikTok, not really. Zoom kind of uses it, but they have their own hybrid. I think they're using, I think they kind of combine streams and then kind of come out with their other stream. So I'm not quite sure how they use it. And of course, Stage 10, the company that I work for, uses it. Browsers that use it, Google, Mozilla, Apple, Safari, kind of, Microsoft Edge, and Yandex. Now I put kind of an orange check mark by Safari, because Safari really, Apple and Google just don't play well together. And so VP9 and VP8 support is there for viewing, but not encoding. So technically, they're not really conformant to WebRTC. And Yandex, of course, is a browser that's out of the Netherlands, but it's used a lot in like Russia and a lot of the companies out there. So video codecs. Video codecs that are supported are VP8, VP9, H.264, and AV1 coming soon. Now, I don't know when that soon is going to be. One of the big things about AV1, of course, is encoding and decoding. Probably over the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing decoders built into a lot of the hardware, so we'll start seeing it there. I don't think it's part of the standard yet, but I mean, everybody's kind of hopeful that it will be, and probably will be. Audio codecs. There's a couple, ISAC and ILBC, and one more audio codec, Opus. And this is really kind of the big one. Basically, Opus is used for audio for all use cases. Here's a little graph from the Opus site. It basically says that Opus is the best for kind of bit rate and high quality. It kind of covers everything. It's in that top right. And of course, it's free and open source. Now the networking, oh boy. So you have a signaling layer that you have to interface to establish negotiation with your sessions. The one nice thing about the WebRTC APIs is that they do handle things like network address translation, stun, turn. You just have to specify these servers if you do have them. Stun, there are open servers out there that you can specify. But you do have to handle ICE and trickle ICE. That is in your session negotiation. Your signaling layer can be up to you, but typically I think everybody is using WebSockets for that. But you can actually use Socket.io if you wanted, or you can use HTTPS. But Socket.io is built on WebSockets. You can use HTTPS and a REST REST protocol. But it's really up to you on how you communicate with your various clients out there. Here is kind of a brief networking description on how peers and stun and turn work together. I won't get into that because it's a bit complicated and I don't like it. So WebRTC on iOS, the next section. Okay, so let's say we have 2 iOS devices. By the way, am I going too fast or am I going too slow, or everybody following? Okay, great. So we have two iOS devices, and they have to communicate together. So what you have is you have your signaling server in the middle, and the 2 of them have to know to. So if you have an app that's written on them, they have to know how to communicate, and they have to know how to communicate and exchange messages with one another. So it's going to be with WebSockets. The next stage is you want to establish a peer connection with them. So you're going to start your APIs, your WebRTC APIs, which grab your SDP for each device, and they start communicating and exchanging messages. I'm going to very quickly kind of gloss over this. I did a talk about 3 years ago where I actually brought code in, and I think I lost everybody. So essentially, you're talking to one another and you're exchanging SDP. And you usually, in the middle, you have a WebRTC server. Now, this can typically be something like Janus or Jitsi. Those are the 2 most common ones. But what these servers are is this is where your WebRTC stream is going to go in, so your RTP packets for audio and video. And then they're going to be basically multiplexed out to the various clients that you have. You'll be sending them into there. You do this by your first devices making an offer to the second one. They will then answer, and then they will negotiate and connect. Then that will establish basically the black iOS device will be sending a stream to the white iOS device. So you will be publishing a stream there. Now most communication is 2-way. So of course, you have to do the reverse. So the next one, of course, it does the offer, the answer, and the white one, then will publish to the black device. And between the 2 of them, they then have a session. And if everything is successful, you get a device that looks like that. Okay, or you get an application where you're actually seeing somebody. Okay, all right. So let me post something. I'm going to post a link. All right, and let me actually, give me a second here. I'm going to, let's get something else going. I'm going to put that link up there as well, so we can see it, but let me just.
Yeah, the link disappeared. Am I just, I just don't know the app very well.
Sorry.
If you go to the chat, there's a chat window, typically in the top right.
Oh, okay.
Beside the people.
Oh, there it is. Of course. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just slow.
I had to go through
it's
this.
Google.
It's smarter than I am.
No,
Google's design.
Google design, yeah.
Okay, so does everybody see like a dual screen of me in the bottom right there? I'm sure.
No.
You see the.
I see the Rosie, and I only see you in the Google Zoom meeting. Yeah, or the Google Meet.
It's not. Okay, you don't see. It's not showing my window.
Well, I see a window.
Yeah, I see a window with Rosie on it that you're sharing.
Okay, do you see another one with 2? Oh, hold on. Sorry.
On the other monitor?
I did a dumb. I shared a window and I meant to share a screen. I did a dumb.
Google design.
Okay. Yep. Did everybody see me down below in the bottom right? Two things with me there?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the me on the left is a raw one, and the me on the right is going to be a processed one. So as you can see, the rosy, I've got the big rosy thing there, and it's not really showing anything. So let's go live, and you should see it's actually counting down. So this is an app I've written to, and you have to hit the play button. And okay. Okay, so I've got me echoing here. Okay, that's better. Can everybody still hear me on Google Meet?
Yep.
I can hear, and Ed, I've opened your app, or I've opened your link as well, so I see you there. So you're
okay.
you're all over the place.
All right, okay. So I just want to prove to you that I'm not just making this up, that I've not like pre-processed or downloaded something from Apple that just does all this pre-processing. So if you start off with your basic WebRTC stuff that Google gives you, they give you a basic capture, and they give you some image viewers. And it will just echo the screen, and it will capture your video. And that's pretty good, and most people, that's all you use. But if you want to do anything else, you actually then have to write your own camera capture, and you have to write your own viewers. So that's what I've done, and you can see the two viewers down below. Well, one of them is just raw, that's the one on the left. The one on the right will actually do some, it will show the process video. Now, for process video, I mean, what we want to do is we want to just throw overlays on there. So, I mean, we can like just put, we can put a square up there, you know, just like a simple little red square. And as you can see on my raw one, it's not there, but it is on the processed one. And live, you can see now we have a blue rectangle and a circle and an oval. And actually, we can put them all up there, and you know, that's just kind of nice. But they're just basic shapes. Now, I mean, of course, if you can do shapes, then you can do a little bit more advanced stuff like that. So you can put text up there. You know, this is square. This is some text. You can make that a little bit bigger text. You can put that right in the middle and actually have a background color onto it. But, you know, and if you can do, what we're doing though is we're just basically taking a static image and we're just blitting it onto whatever output frame we have, and it goes out and you're seeing it live. But what you want to do, of course, is it'd be nice to have some little motion in there as well. So we could put like just a clock in there, which you know, then it changes every second, and it does a little bit, but that's only 1 frame per second. So you can do a little bit more. So you can then, you know, generate like a timer or something. This still isn't really that fast. You can put them all up there as well if you really wanted to. So you have all the text that's going. And that's all kind of nice and that's all good, but you know, that's just text as well. But you know, some other fun stuff might be like to put up some images. So we can put up, you know, something like that. Can anybody identify what that is? Anybody know what that is?
Is that Babylon 5?
That is Babylon 5. Very, very good. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to do a little bit, some little quizzes. So, I mean, it's great that we've got an image right there, but, you know, maybe that's not big enough. So, you know, live, we can just like, oh, hey, don't get too big, don't get too big, don't get too big, Babylon 5 there. We can just make it as big as we want right there, or we can put it in the bottom left or the bottom right. We can move it around. We can put up another image. What image is that? Who knows this one?
Is that from Spaceballs?
It is not. It's from 2001. Anyway, I've got a bunch of images that I put up. Does anybody know this one?
I'll let someone else in the audience try that one. I have an idea. Eric?
Yes.
That really looks Space 1999, but
that is correct. That is correct. Anyway, so that's just having a little bit of fun with some images. But we can also, you know, I mean, if we've got one image, you know, that's just there, then we could probably put in like an animated GIF as well if we wanted. You know, we got another one, we get some really basic ones, or We can put them all there. And of course, we can, put that one up there. We can put all our text up there. We can put all of our, everything can go up there if you want. So let me actually clear all this. I didn't write a quick clear everything. Now, that's all well and good, and that's just overlaying images, and that's really kind of nice, but we can also do some other stuff. Like if we're playing with Apple and Core Image, we've got the whole toolkit that it offers. So we can actually apply some filters as well. So of course we've got a very basic saturation brightness. So I can actually change this a little bit, the brightness, the contrast, and I can do this on the fly. And as you can see, it updates right away. I'll turn that off. And of course, we've got the ever popular comic book filter that turns me into a comic book character. We've got the crystallize, which make you just go crystal like that. And the one I really like is actually, I like this edges one. I think this one's kind of cool. Anyway, you could do all those, and of course, we'll just turn that off. But, we can also do something else. If we're doing all that, we can, why not actually play a movie as well? So I'm just going to play this, and I want to know if anybody can identify this TV show.
I'm going to go with, unless someone else wants to go, guess.
Something
Lost in Space?
It is not Lost in Space. This is actually a little bit later than Lost in Space. This is a show, this is from Britain. It's called UFO, and it's from Jerry and Sylvia Anderson, who did Space 1999, and it's from the early 70s. Now, of course, we've got a video doing there. We've got a video that's showing right there, but we can also put a filter on that as well. And we can make that crystallize, and we can do all that kind of stuff, and it's all real time, and it's all just happening on the device. Okay, so that's my little demo there. I think that was about it. Yeah, I got a few other slides here. And I'll just go to a window again. Okay, so yeah, so using out of the box WebRTC stuff, you just get that standard app, what I was showing before. But if you're going to roll your own, then you will have to write your own camera capture and your own image viewers to see that, just like I was showing you right there. And it's fun, but it is non-trivial. Now, the thing is you might think, I'm running this on an iPad 4, or sorry, an iPad Air 4 from last year, which is a pretty powerful machine. But the truth is I actually wrote a lot of this stuff about 3 years ago, and I wrote it on, can you see this? This is like an old iPod Touch from about 5 years ago. So you don't actually need that powerful hardware. So to wrap up, what I did was I did some shape drawing, some text drawing, some image drawing, and some very basic filters. I showed you some live video that I can then apply all that to as well. I could have drawn all those images on it as well. Now, there are a few gotchas which I haven't gotten into about WebRTC stuff. One of them, of course, is audio. I haven't even discussed audio, but that is a whole other separate topic. ICE reconnect, that's if your connection drops, it's how to reconnect it. And of course, just the whole negotiation when you're negotiating your WebRTC sessions on using SDP. If you want to know more about it, here's the link for the Google WebRTC SDK. I can post that in there if you want. I've got a bunch of other links that are here. Let me know if you're interested, and I can give those to Chris. And that is it. How long did I go?
I think it was maybe just around 20 minutes.
Oh,
or
okay.
so.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was. You're like a wizard. Yeah, it's all just fancy to me.
Did I go too quickly? Did everybody kind of catch what I was doing?
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea whether this is just everybody's looking at me and going, "Oh, this is basic. What's he going over this?" Or this is, "Oh, I have no idea what he's on about." Or I actually have no frame of reference. So it was just to kind of give you a flavor of how to put together. Now, how to put together an actual app. Like I glossed over the networking aspect of that. That is probably about 80% of the work that you need to do stuff. All the image processing stuff I do right now, that's all fun stuff. I love doing this kind of stuff. And needless to say, because it's the fun stuff that I enjoy doing, that's never the stuff I'm actually doing. I'm always doing networking or, recovery from networking, negotiation, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it is kind of fun. It is kind of nice when you actually get an app and people use your app and they're out there and they're using it and you can see people interacting. So anyway, are there any questions?
I had one that I was just wondering. So with the iOS, the big thing with the most recent iPhones and whatnot was HDR support. But considering that VP8 and VP9 and 264 don't have, aren't necessarily support HDR, is how would that has anyone talked about doing WebRTC with HDR or not? Really?
No.
Okay.
Any Apple specific that's the thing. I mean, Apple really tried to force H.265 on people as well, but nobody's biting. So I think it's kind of being overlooked. When it comes to WebRTC, it's really kind of Google that's kind of driving things. Well, not only Google, it's also Mozilla as well. And everything for them everything for them is basically it's got to be an open standard, which is unencumbered by licensing fees. H.264 does have that, but it's so baked into everything with hardware support, and it's kind of covered over by what's the company?
Cisco.
Yes, Cisco, their licensing. So that's why H.264 is kind of brought into it. But any new codecs basically have to be free. And I mean, which is one reason why H.265 is never going to go anywhere for WebRTC. But no, I mean, any Apple-specific things are never going to make it into WebRTC.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks. Eric?
Yeah, I saw that you have I didn't quite understand relationship with Shopify. Are you able to monetize this video with your app, or you're at Rosie, your amazing store there, and what's the link to Shopify?
Oh, okay. So what we've done is we've integrated with Shopify stores. So if you have a Shopify store, you can download our Shopify app. Sorry, we call it Rosie. It's our Rosie Shopify app.
Oh, this is stage 10.
Yes, but it's using our underlying technology, but we're branding it as Rosie. And you can hook up your store with that and do a live video from there. And I've written a Rosie app that will also allow you to interface with it. And we're working on that. We just released this several months ago, and we're still kind of rolling it out and still trying to get people to use it.
What's the purchase scenario sound like? Like, I mean, what's the
we take a percentage.
Flow? No, I meant no. I meant more of what's the usage scenario? Like how I would buy to join a meeting where you're going to present something. Or is it buying? It's not buying pre-recorded videos. It's buying a live access.
It is buying. So what you would have is people who have Shopify stores and whatever they're selling, whether it's socks or you name it, they would download it. Shoes. Yesterday I was watching somebody who was selling shoes, and they get their store going. They get a live video going, and then they publish the link out to a bunch of their subscribers to their store. or they get it out on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere. So influencers, we hope, are going to be using it a lot. China is really kind of much more advanced on this in terms of people watching and buying online, but it's starting to happen more in the West.
So it's more like I go into a corner store and I talk with the guy, and he goes, "Oh yeah, this is what you want," and then he says, gives me a link off to his store, and I buy it, and so it's a interactive that way. Okay, interesting.
Well, he would have a Shopify store, so if you ran a video, anybody who has a Shopify store that then wants to run a live video, you can use our Rosie app to do that. And we have all the underlying video technology to hopefully make that easy for you.
It's like remote window shopping?
Yes. But the people who own the store do kind of have to do the marketing. So they have to get it out to all their followers on Facebook or YouTube or wherever they are on Instagram. We are trying to actually, now we do, our Stage 10 app actually does allow you to restream to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook as well. We're actually just adding LinkedIn, and Instagram doesn't let anybody do it yet. We're still trying to do that, but even though they're owned by Facebook, we still can't get permission to do that. And we do have connections there, but we still can't do Instagram, but that's the big one. And we also do, we can also do a custom RTMP stream if you want.
Cool. Scott, you had a question?
Yeah, if you were gonna have to create an app and maintain it for a couple years using WebRTC, would you use the Google thing, or would you not use the Google thing? It sounds like.
You mean an iOS app with Apple's SDKs, you know, a UI kit and everything?
Yeah, I mean, like, how would you approach it? Like,
you pretty much have no choice but to use libweb. It's called WebRTC.framework. And you have to download it. There used to be a CocoaPod for it, but now they don't even support that. You actually have to download the source yourself and explicitly compile it. And it's not too hard. You just have to go through and do it. And it's all on the command line. But
is it well maintained?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
good code.
Okay, so how do I put this? The WebRTC, so to download and compile the WebRTC framework, you're downloading the source that's actually used in Google Chrome, that's used in Android, and it's just got a bunch of compile flags that allows it to create like an iOS framework as well. So it's the same source code, but there is an iOS SDK for it. But you can go through and look at the whole commit. I was just actually looking at it yesterday, and in the last 2 weeks, there have been over 130 commits on the main branch for it. So they're always fixing, they're always changing, they're always doing stuff. But so yes, it is very, very well maintained. But if you are an old school Linux developer, then downloading it should be no problem for you. If you are just a classic Mac or iOS programmer who's only ever used Xcode, then you might find it a little bit problematic to do. But I mean, anybody who's used, you know, you have to download the source code. Actually, Google has its own whole compile system. It's called Ninja. So you actually have to make use of that to compile it. It gets even worse. Apple changed the way they did frameworks in the last couple months. So you actually have to create what's known as an XC framework if you want multiple architectures in there. And the Google SDK does, or the Google instructions don't tell you how to do that. It's not a big deal, but you do have to figure all that out.
But it's like, it's basically like kind of raw bindings over the C++, basically.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's actually still Objective-C, but I've written everything in Swift. But you know, they operate pretty well. It's been no problem. But yes, it's definitely it's bindings over C++. Absolutely. And it's a very, very thin veneer over the C++. Once you start getting into anything down and dirty, you're into C++. So it is I've made a few changes when I've really had to, but as soon as I can undo them and figure out a way, I do. I just don't try to touch that. Now, when it comes to audio, I think I'm going to have no choice but to probably sub-branch and probably create my own audio unit because unfortunately the Google SDK just seems to take over the audio session. So if you wanted to do something like mix, let's say you're playing a movie there and you wanted to mix the audio from a movie and your microphone, right now you can't do it. So unless, so I'm going to have to branch it off and probably just override whatever they do for their audio unit and create my own. So audio is a little bit problematic, but all the video stuff that I've done, you can, I won't say easily do, but you can do without having to get in and muck with the innards of the Google SDK. Of course, it took me a few years.
So it does work with, say, like AV Foundation and everything?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Cool. Now, saying that, I initially did use AV Foundation for a lot of stuff, but I don't use, apart from reading assets, I don't really use AV Foundation for much anymore. Although that's big enough reason. But I'm not using AV Player. If you're getting at, am I using AV Player? I'm not using AV Player.
No, I'm just wondering about, like, I know, like, I kind of like, I don't know iOS that well, but the Android SDK didn't look like great. It didn't look great and it's sort of like hosted out of the same sort of project. It's all the, like, I think it's all like putting kind of rough, nasty bindings around C++, and
yes,
that probably works better into Objective-C than it does into Java. So maybe it's a little bit better on the iOS side.
Yeah, and actually we do have a guy who's working on the equivalent Rosie app for Android, and I thought Android's from Google, and the WebRTC project is basically a Google project. I thought, oh well, it's going to be no problem. You'll have all these tools there. No. I think actually what Google really expects people to do is actually any WebRTC app, they expect you to go through the browser and use that. So he's had a bit of a fight to get some stuff working, and it was totally different from what I expected. But you're kind of confirming what he said. But yeah, I thought it'd be a lot better, but I think actually in iOS land we do have things a little bit better. But them kind of ending support for CocoaPods and not. Which, okay, I was never a big fan of CocoaPods myself. I hardly ever used it, but they're not supporting SPM either, which is Swift Package Manager for those of you who are interested. That would have been nice if they did that, or at least maybe they will at some point. So I've had to create my own SPM package to then wrap the framework. And I release it. It's not public, but it's our own internal one, and I release it every 6 weeks or so whenever there's a public service announcement on the Google WebRTC discussion list saying, hey, we've got another major release, so I'll do a cut there and make one. Are there any other questions?
I think Arun had one.
Yeah, a couple of them. So we actually do have a WebRTC bin in GStreamer, and if you think the WebRTC bindings are low level, then you'll find these to be even more horrifying. But what is interesting over there is it should at least be easier to express these sorts of processing pipelines, both for audio and video. But on the other hand, you have a different support matrix then. But I was just curious if you had ever tried them out, and if you ever do and you have feedback, then that's something in the community we would definitely appreciate.
Yeah, I have not. I was aware. I looked at GStreamer 4 or 5 years ago when I was doing a lot of stuff, and I remember exactly like reading very much the summary that you did about pads and the bins and stuff. And I did a little bit of experimentation, and I was very, very eager to do stuff. But once you get into now I know a little bit more. I'd be more willing to experiment. do you have actually working iOS demos, or is it something you
There
still
should be working iOS demos. So we now actually have more tutorials and examples that run on Android and I believe run on iOS. I need to double check. But the problem is still that we don't have sort of first class binding. So usually what ends up happening is if you're using them, you kind of write your sort of core logic in C and then define a good sort of interface between your application and the engine. So that is definitely a gap in kind of what GStreamer offers, but we try to make it easier to integrate into Xcode and whatever Visual Studio, depending on sort of what platform you're on. But yeah, there's definitely work to be done. Yeah,
I mean, I'm certainly open. Right now, I think we basically have no choice, but I'm certainly open, and hopefully there will be more alternatives like GStreamer. There's also Pion as well, which is another one. Now, Sean Dubois supposedly is now working at Apple. This I don't know. One of our guys just heard this. Now, I didn't want to tell him that, but once you start working at Apple, basically it's a black hole of information. You become they don't let you do anything. So I don't know how much longer he's going to be allowed to actually do stuff on there. I think maybe there's a robust community enough that it won't matter, but and maybe he's not at Apple. I don't know, but the one guy who told me this, he doesn't make stuff up. So, so I would love there to be other alternatives. So hopefully over the next year, I'll start exploring those a little bit more. But I really love doing the image processing stuff, which is really, it's above. Like all the WebRTC and all the encoding and decoding is more low-level stuff. I kind of enjoy the more higher-level stuff, so I'm hoping to do more of that. There's a lot of stuff like we didn't even get into, like stuff like green screening, some augmented reality stuff, and being able to catch your face and put rabbit ears on you. Okay, it's all like ridiculous and fun, but that's kind of fun stuff to do. So I'd love to investigate that a lot more. The green screening I'd love to do because fake out backgrounds and stuff. That's stuff that you get in Google Meet and pretty much anywhere. So I would love to be able to put some of that in, and I just need the time to do it.
Cool, thanks. That was a fun talk.
Oh, thank you. Are there any other questions?